Hello Math 10 students. In this section we're going to be taking a look at rounding with whole numbers, and this is from section 1.1 of the textbook. Rounding is a way of taking a large number, or sometimes a smaller number, and forgetting about some of the smaller details that are unimportant. You end up with a nice round number that's easier to deal with. So let's take a look at an example. Round to the 10,000ths place, and our number is 1,526,006. This number happens to be the population of Philadelphia as recorded for the 2010 census. Now, the reason we might want to round a number like this is that the 6 at the very end is kind of silly. When you think about it, this is just the number of people who replied to the census. There's people being born and dying every day in Philadelphia. There's people moving in and out of the city every day, and this number has gone up quite a bit since then. So the digits at the far right here are unnecessarily precise. They're not telling us any information, and they just really add to the clutter. We want a nice round number with a bunch of zeros at the end that gives you the gist of what the population is. And to get that, we're going to round. So here's our process. The very first step when rounding whole numbers, in any number really, is to identify and underline the place value you're rounding to. I say underline because I think that actually is a very helpful part of the process. You don't have to do that, but I would encourage you to. So the place value that I'm rounding to is the 10,000ths place. When I look at the place value table on page 4, 10,000ths is right here, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth digit over. You're going to want to start internalizing that place value table so that you don't always have to look things up, but you can always use it in a pinch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, here's my 10,000ths place, right in the middle of the thousands period. So I've done step 1, my 10,000ths place is the 2. Next step, I'm going to look one digit to the right. I need to know if that 26,000 is in the high 20s or low 20s. Well, 26,000 is in the high 20s, and 5 is my cutoff. If it's 5 or more, you're going to round the underlined number up by 1. If it's 4 or less, you'll keep it the same. And I typically like to write the result down below. In math, and especially in algebra, you'll notice that you're typically writing your answer immediately below the question. And for step-by-step problems, you'll write each step below the previous step. So you want to get used to that. So underneath the 2, I'm going to write that 2 bumps up to a 3 because it's followed by a 6. So I had to look to the right of the 2, notice that that 6 is pretty big, and that affects the underlined number. The 2 rounds up by 1. So what about the rest of the number? Well, everything to the left of my underlined place value comes straight down. There's still 1 million people in the city for sure, and that 500,000 isn't going anywhere. But everything after that turns to 0. So the 26,000 rounds up to 30,000, in other words. And there's my answer. The rounded number is 1,530,000. Let's take a look at another example. Let's round this to the 100,000ths place. We'll do this one a little bit more quickly, but feel free to pause if you need to. Where's my 100,000ths place? Try to see if you can figure it out looking at the table or using your knowledge of place value. 100,000ths place should be the 8 right here. And I need to decide, does that 8 round up to a 9? Do I bump it up by 1 or do I keep it the same? And to do that, I have to look one digit to the right. So to the right of 8, I see that 3. That 3 is kind of the one that's telling you what to do. It's not the number we're rounding, but it's the number that gives you a bunch of information about what you need to do. And since 3 is 4 or less, that means I'm going to keep my underlined number, my 8, the same. It's not the 3 that stays the same, it's the underlined number, the 8. Now, everything after that always turns to 0 when you're dealing with whole numbers, even the 3. So everything after that underlined place value, that 100,000ths place, is going to turn to 0. Everything to the left of it, the 42 million, is going to stay the same. And I'm going to remember to bring my commas down as well. So, to summarize, when you're rounding whole numbers, you're always going to first identify your place value. Then you need to look to the right to decide what to do with that place value. You're either bumping it up by 1 or keeping it the same. Everything after it will always turn to 0, and everything to the left of it will always come straight down.